The Halifax Wanderers unfortunately get their season cut short, losing to York United Wednesday night in Halifax, guys, in about as dramatic fashion as you can possibly get to. Andrew McInnis, Daeden Comeau with you here, Halifax Sports Talk, to just briefly recap the saddened fact that we are sitting here recapping a loss with the Halifax Wanderers. It's not a really good feeling right now, Daeden. It's a sad feeling.
We talked about all these advantages that Halifax might have with Josh the other day, talking about how the fog might come into play. We got some torrential downpour, actually. There was a few things, some lightning delays that played into this one. But all in all, I'm pretty upset that we aren't doing a pregame preview for the game against Cavalry on Sunday.
You know, I've said it multiple times, and I said it a couple times on this podcast that I'm not a fan of draws. I don't like that, and I've tried to get better at it. And, even across multiple sports, like the fact that you kind of get rewarded for an overtime point in hockey still bothers me. But in soccer, I've started to get better at dealing with it. Now, obviously, in the postseason, there's no such thing. There has to be a winner. So this game, of course, resulted in a 3-2 victory in penalty kicks for York United. So fans definitely got their money's worth. Every single bit of money that they paid to get into this, they got some excitement, and they probably experienced something that they were never going to experience again, like you said, with the weather delays, the lightning, torrential downpour. But it really was a game of momentum. I think the key word would be in this game. Halifax went into half with the lead. We talked about Thiago Coimbra. We showed some clips on our social medias. Josh talked about everything he brings to the table. He definitely did his job. Josh told us, if he gets on the board, it's going to be a real good sign for this Wanderers team. They go into half with a lead. And Josh, Daeden, they kept the lead for pretty much the entire half, but the 86th minute, man, not good.
No, and like you said before, I also mentioned this to Josh in the episode that we did with him. Halifax knows how to get out to an early lead, and they're very good at that. Coimbra obviously got them ahead, but what they also do is allow teams to get back into the game, and that's kind of what they did here with York. York was kind of pressing in the second half, and lo and behold, they tied the game. Obviously, Halifax went up, and they tied it again, so almost a double dip there for Halifax in that sense. But yeah, something they have to work on. Like you just said, they have to close it out.
And I think that, first of all, let's look at it like taking away all the weather factors right now and just looking at the soccer factors. As you mentioned, you get the lead, but it's not like they just allowed a goal in the 65th minute or the 70th minute or even the 80th minute. For it to be in the 86th minute is heartbreaking. Absolute heartbreak for them to have protected that lead for so long. Now, some people are questioning some substitutions that might have been made, taking players out too early from Patrice Geyser or players that did not go into the game at certain times. But guess what? I'm here to say that you probably would never have heard those people say those things if they held on to a 1-0 lead and won the game, right? So it's easy for us to criticize coaching once you lose in heartbreak fashion like this. Jeremy Gagnon-Laparé, this guy has been around the block. He played for the Wanderers early on in his career. Then he left for a little while, came back as a Wanderer. He's a Wanderer at his soul, at his heart. And this guy, he went from hero to zero, I guess we can say. This is kind of a sad way of putting it, but he scores a big goal to put them up 2-1. They give up a goal near the end, and then, of course, he's the one that ends up putting the ball over the net in the penalty shootout. When I was younger, as someone that played basketball and I played hockey as well, and I never played soccer, I thought to myself, like, man, look how close they stand. How can anybody miss? And sometimes you think about it almost too much. You're overthinking, and he just airmailed the ball right over the net.
Yeah, I was talking to you before we started recording about this. Talked to Jared this morning at Mayo Media Network, and I showed him the video, and he goes, "Man, you just have to put that on net. Like if the keeper makes a save, keeper makes a save, but at least it was on net. Now you kind of look like a goof. You airmailed it over the net." I had someone Devin, Recliner Sports, commented on our TikTok this morning. It said, looked like that one could have hit the mast on top of Citadel Hill. So
Yeah.
there you go.
It's tough, it's tough. And especially because I believe it was Lorenzo Caligari that missed earlier, right? So,
Yeah.
for a player like that, that's such a veteran and key player on your team and his penalty was not good at all. Like it did not look good for him to miss that wide. And so here's the deal is that there's only one keeper that made a save in the penalty shootout. And of course, we all know, and everybody watching at home, York United never even got a save from their keeper. The Halifax Wanderers players just missed the net twice. So that's very, very disheartening, very tough for this Wanderers team. They improved on the road this season. They got the home playoff match that they wanted here. But again, this team continues to struggle when the lights get bright and when they go to the postseason. It's tough to see. Do you think that maybe there needed to be more of an emphasis to get that second goal, to keep pushing? Do you think they maybe protected the lead too much in the second half they had?
Yeah, maybe that was a factor into it. I think one of the things that was touched on the broadcast last night, Mario Eustachio, I know a lot of people were like criticizing Patrice Geyser and his game style that he put out there, but Mario Eustachio, the coach for York, made multiple formation changes last night, multiple substitutions at pretty opportune times, which ended up to work out for York. And I think it was honestly the biggest factor last night was the work on the sidelines from the two bench
Mm.
bosses.
And that makes a real difference, especially with how long that match went, when you
Yeah.
get and it's cool. Like, I've made it very clear that soccer is not the sport that I cover the most. And I think it's so cool that it's not like a sudden death, right? Like, it's not like you score in overtime and you win. No, it is time. It's timed. It's just like a regular match is. So you get scored on, you have the ability to come right back and score. So the fact that the Wanderers didn't just blow one lead, though, Daeden, they blew two leads. And that's a tough thing. And then to blow two leads and then to have players miss not once but twice miss the net. Like it's one thing if you get saved, but it's another thing to miss the net. It's definitely disheartening and it's really tough right now. And the Wanderers do have a very supportive fan base. I know some people aren't happy, but you can point the finger. I always say this across multiple sports. When there's multiple things you can point the finger at, it's never a good thing. And whether it's a defender not clearing the ball, whether it's the keeper not being aggressive enough, there's something went wrong on that second goal, right? And then, of course, you look at the penalty kickers, it's on to them now. So a lot of stuff seemed to go wrong. Um, we can blame the weather, but guess what? Both teams had to deal with the weather situation, right? And so now, if there's one team that was happy with all of this, it was Calvary. They're sitting back at home thinking, I hope this game goes all night long because we're going to have a very fatigued winner, whether it is the Wanderers or York. And of course, it ended up being York, but it is what it is. It's simple as day. Mistakes will cost your team, and that's what happened.
Yeah, there's the weather, the fatigue, the time zone change that they'll have to get used to. 3 hours difference from mountain time to Atlantic time. So that's another thing. They're just going to be tired. This York side is going to be pretty tired. But to touch on what you just spoke about, Jeremy Gagnon Lapare was kind of the guy that was in the middle of every unopportune play for Halifax. He was the one that didn't get enough on that clearing attempt in the final minute when they got the tying goal. And then obviously he had the hot boot or hot head from when he put that header in earlier in the game, but he couldn't finish in the penalty shootout. I thought it was going to be a for sure goal to tie it up, steps up in the big moment, but it just wasn't his moment, I guess.
Yeah, I just think it was so awesome to see them get a save, to get it back after Calgary missed, and then for them to not be able to end up winning that one after getting a save of their own was a little bit tough. Um, if you guys haven't checked out Josh Healy's articles, they're up on Canadian Premier League.ca, CanPL on X. Of course, you can check them out. But I mean, there's so many different things to look at when it comes to this match, but when it comes down to it, you can have a good regular season, you can play better on the road, you can get your fans that home playoff match, but when it comes down to it, they ultimately weren't able to get the job done. Credit to you for giving the nod to the coaching staff of York, and of course Patrice Geyser. I thought he managed a pretty good game, but I'm still going to sit here and say that maybe they didn't produce enough. You got the Coimbra patented goal before halftime, but maybe they needed more in the second half from their squad.
Yeah, he's been the kind of the leader all season. He even missed some time, still ended up being their leading scorer. So maybe if somebody else could have stepped up a little bit. I know Gagnon Lepre got that second goal in extra time, but maybe someone stepping up. It's a playoff game. Put a little bit extra on the line, elimination game. Maybe someone steps up in the second half and gives them some insurance, and the game doesn't fold out the way it does. But nothing happened like that, and Halifax obviously took the loss, and that's kind of the unfortunate part about this.
Well, we look forward to next season covering the Halifax Wanderers from start to finish. We're going to try and get some players in the podcast. We'll certainly try and get Patrice if we are able to. And look, the future is bright for this team. They got a lot of great young players, and they seem to have done a great job. Look, you lose Dan Nimick. You lose all kinds of great forward players. You lose Riley Ferrazzo. You lose all kinds of guys on the offensive side of things and the guys that were producing for you, and you were able to make up for it this season. This season was a good turnaround year for them after last year, and they end up losing players. I mean, there's a lot to be happy about, but ultimately this Wanderers team was just not able to get the job done. Did any closing thoughts for you on this?
No, not really. Just excited to see what the Wanderers can bring next season. I had a buddy that was at the game last night. He was sending me videos of the penalty shootout, and in behind the Wanderers fans, you could somehow hear little chants every time the York keeper made the save or the York players got the goal. It was almost like there was a couple of York players in the stands, and I was when I showed Pat the video this morning, he said, "Where is everybody? How come there's not so many people in the stands?" And I was like, you
Ooh.
know what? That's a good point. Maybe there could have been a little more action last night at Wanderers Gowns, although there was like a bunch of rain. That's all I'm going to say.
I think it truthfully does impact the Wanderers when it's a weeknight game versus a weekend. I have to say, I think it does. What was it, a 7:30 start time? It's a Wednesday night, miserable night. Um, and I just think that people are there all year long and they see, I think the Wanderers, they only had weekday games on holidays this year. You mostly have weekend games, and there's the Canadian Cup games as well that are on weeknights sometimes, but it makes a big difference. But obviously, you have to finish in that higher seed in order to be able to obtain that top spot in the home field advantage. So, quite the scene at Wanderers grounds on Wednesday night. But unfortunately, the home side does not get the job done. Guys, again, we appreciate Josh Healy coming on with us for our previous episode. We'll try and get him on moving forwards, and as well as all kinds of other great writers and reporters that cover the Halifax Wanderers. But Daeden, with me, of course, as always, I'm Andrew McInnis, and we are covering all things in Halifax. Thunderbird season right around the corner. We got AUS action coming up, of course, with hockey, with basketball, multiple sports, and we're always covering the Halifax Moose Edge. And hats off to Daeden, who's been doing a very good job with these post-game shows, consistent. And I bet you it's been a lot more fun for him because this Mooseheads team's looking pretty damn good right now as well. So that will do it for today, guys. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and find us on all social media platforms. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.